I don't think we're going to have the full hour slot here. So, um, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming into this meeting. I really appreciate it. My name is David Pena. I'm an American English teacher from New Jersey, now living in Tlaxcala, Mexico. And today's special guest is Christine Esche. Did I pronounce that correct, Christine? Did I pronounce the last name?
It's Esche.
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 I'm so sorry.
Two syllables,
Esche.
yeah. Mhm.
Okay, Esche. She's an English language fellow. She works with the embassy in the education department. And today she will be telling us a little bit about what's it like to be an English fellow. What does it take? How's an English teacher life going over there in the US? And a couple of things around there. All right. So, Christine, thank you so much for being here. All right. I'm going to ask a couple of questions and then I'm going to let you guys also ask a couple if that's okay with Christine. All right. So, we're calculating around 30 to 40 minutes. Okay. So, let's get going. So, Christine, thank you so much for being here. All right. So,
My
my
pleasure.
first question is, what is the English Language Fellow Program? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So the English Language Fellow Program looks for American English teachers to go abroad, well, except for last year, of course, to go abroad to so many countries around the world and work for 1 year doing projects in English language programs around the world. So for example, I went to Panama and I partnered with a local university there and helped. What they wanted was curriculum development. So I had to do some needs analysis, help develop curriculum, work with the instructors, and I even produced kind of a specialized textbook for one of their programs, which was very specialized. But other people go to China or Burma or Argentina, and maybe they'll have a full teaching load, or maybe they'll do curriculum development, or maybe they do teacher training, or a little bit of all of those things. So when they're chosen, it's chosen a lot on if you need, first of all, any language abilities. If you need to speak Spanish, they'll find a Spanish speaker, for example, and then just kind of what your specialty is, and they'll find you a project and send you along.
Awesome. Thank you. Is it necessary for the fellow to be bilingual, or is that just a benefit, in case they have it, in case they are?
It is not required. One of my friends went to Nicaragua and he didn't speak any Spanish. And even after a year, he said, I just worked with English teachers all the time. I didn't learn much Spanish. So it's not required. And they do send people to like all over the world, and even some areas that are pretty remote and might have a language that's not commonly taught here. Maybe Uyghur, for example, which is a language in China. So no, it's absolutely not a requirement to be bilingual to be a fellow, but some projects might require it just because of the nature of the project.
Interesting. All right. And is there a country that maybe you have on your list that you would like to visit, once you have the opportunity, once it's safe again to travel?
Absolutely. Well, I was kind of crossing my fingers for something in Southeast Asia when I put in my application. I really wanted to maybe go in like Thailand or India or Nepal. Um, but I think they found a place for me in Panama, and I, of course, accepted. I didn't want to turn down any opportunity to work with the State Department. Um, I love traveling, so there's so many places I want to go, and I have no doubt I'll go to all the places I want to. Um, Next on my list is a trip that was canceled for me. I really want to go to Rwanda, uh, a small country in Africa that I had a whole trip planned for and was canceled because of COVID. So hopefully that's next. That's next up.
All right. Yes. We wish you the very best, and hopefully you can, go there pretty soon, as soon as it's safe to travel. Right.
So
So, the next question is, what kind of requirements are probably like the most important or most essential to become a language fellow? Is there any degree that is required? You have to have maybe a bachelor's or a master's? I don't think a doctorate, but maybe a master's.
so it's been a while since I checked the requirements, but I believe you need to have a master's in TESOL or something related to TESOL. My degree is in linguistics, so that fit related to TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages. So master's degree, and then a couple years of teaching experience, I believe, is required. And sorry about that. Also, you should have some international experience because they're sending you abroad for a year. They're going to be investing a lot in you, and they don't want people to, have this be their first time outside of their own culture or their own comfort zone. They want people who they know, can handle being in a, just a different situation and be able to complete the whole year.
Wonderful. That's an important thing, as you said. As we probably know, there's this term. Probably I don't know how new it is, but the term culture shock that can affect some people more than others if they're not really prepared. So, have you ever experienced any sort of culture shock, or what can you recommend any teacher who is also willing to be a fellow or travel to teach to avoid having these big culture shocks?
I think it's inevitable. Of course, I've experienced it. The best thing you can do, I would say, is try to know what to expect before you go, if possible. For example, for me in Panama, the biggest culture shock was just the difference in like time and scheduling. So I came in and I thought like, oh, I'm gonna meet someone and we're gonna make an appointment and I'm gonna put it on our calendar and then we're gonna have the meeting, right? Well, in Panama, it doesn't really work that way. You don't put meetings out a month in advance on a calendar and then meet. For them, it's more like, oh yeah, we'll talk sometime. And then one day you find them in the hallway. And if you both have time, you have the meeting. So unfortunately, that meant I spent a lot of times outside people's doors and I thought we had a meeting, but just I was the only one there. And it happened again and again and again. And I think maybe if I could go back and talk to my past self, it would have been, you're working in, maybe by the third time, like, Christine, maybe something's going on here where I'm working within my own cultural construct instead of educating myself and figuring out, oh, I need to enter their cultural construct because I'm working with 10,000 of them and there's just one of me, so I have to adapt. And I guess I wish that maybe I'd had a little bit more just a cultural orientation about that. But I did pick up on it by the end and was able to, not put so many things on my calendar and just try to find people in their office when I saw them or catch them in the hallway when I saw them.
Okay, interesting. I definitely agree with that advice as well. Trying to immerse as best as possible. All right, good. Throughout your teaching career, do you have any particular story with a student or with a group that maybe stuck in your mind? Whether it be a particular curious of a student that developed amazingly because of how you taught them or what you taught them.
A particular story. Well, the one that stands out to me is the one that actually made me become a teacher. And so it goes way back to when I was about 19 years old. I was at university and I was always fascinated by just other cultures. I lived my whole life in Wisconsin and I was very eager to break out of those boundaries and meet people from all over the world. And so I decided to sign up to be an ESL tutor volunteer, just a once a week meet for free with a student who's learning ESL and just kind of help them out. So this is before I was a teacher, before I had any training. And the very first person I got to work with was this wonderful young woman from Saudi Arabia. And we started meeting once a week, but soon after that, we started meeting more often just because we became friends. And she stayed here for 8 years and she began as an ESL student and she stayed until she finished her PhD. So she was very ambitious, very motivated, and I wasn't her only English teacher, so no, the credit doesn't go to me for that, but just watching her go from like struggling with the language, maybe being like A2, B1 kind of level to getting her PhD and, getting more educated than I am even. And she gave the speech, for her graduating class. And then unfortunately she had to go home. And I hope to visit her there one day, but she's working in education now. And I think it's from an experience like that that made me think, yeah, I want to do this full time.
All right. Thank you so much. Definitely, it is an inspiring and wonderful story. And I do believe also as a teacher, those kinds of things inspire us to, become educators at a different level and help other people because we really see the results. And we would really like to see that in all the people that we teach. But we definitely know that there are, like those students that can become a huge potential. And part of the
Mhm.
moral is, never give up on any of them because you never know which one. So,
I'd like to add also,
mhm,
though, that for all the people that we have seen, advance and we have seen their successes, there's probably so many more that they finish our class and we never see them again. But you hope that your teaching has somehow made their life better. And that if I did see them in the supermarket 20 years from now, they'd be able to tell me like, wow, I remember you. And I remember this lesson you gave. And that always stuck with me, or that really helped me. I work with adults in the US where I work my regular full-time job when I'm not being a fellow. I work with adult immigrants here in Wisconsin. So I sometimes get students who are coming in, they're, currently working at, entry level jobs or don't have a job yet and don't have very proficient English skills yet. And by the time they finish, level one, level two, or level three ESL with me, they might move on. And it's only sometimes like 5 or 6 years later that we occasionally hear news that, oh yeah, they got this job, or they passed their, they got into college classes. So for all the people that I do know their story, I know there's a lot of people out there who, I've released them, and I know a lot of them do come back with some success stories. That's always nice to think about.
yes, that's brilliant. Thank you so much. Um, just quickly, I do agree with you on that also. And coming from the point that uh, I think in today's world, it's easier to connect with them. I mean, definitely we have email, we have, Messenger, WhatsApp, a lot of these different social media apps that you can actually still connect with people, with the passing of the time because it's made easier. I remember back when I was in high school, some of these technologies were not fully developed yet. And I remember I had a wonderful, wonderful math teacher, a brilliant professor. And he gave us his email once, which I wrote in a notebook and sadly misplaced. And because of that, I have no way of communicating with him again. I mean, I probably have to look harder to see if maybe he has created some sort of maybe Facebook profile page or something.
Yeah.
But I really doubt it because of his character or his nature.
Mm.
But yeah, definitely, I encourage young people. I mean, it's easier for you guys today to really connect with teachers, with connect with other people, and kind of have that relationship. Like I said, I accidentally misplaced that notebook. I don't know how to recover. The email that I wrote from him. So I mean, if I could take it back, I really wish I could have his email again and chat with my ex math teacher. So my next question would be if you could go back in time and maybe tell something to yourself that maybe you would like to do or improve or correct or just tell yourself your past self, your younger self, maybe a couple of years back. Would you do it? And what would you say to yourself maybe 5 or 10 years ago?
Oh my gosh. That's a good question. To think about it for a second. You know, I think I would have told myself this is something pretty basic and kind of just maybe emotional, but don't worry so much about where you're going, like what direction you're going to pick. Like it's going to just it'll feel right. Like stuff will happen. Like when I was 18 years old, I was like, what? I didn't know what to study at university. Like I didn't know what career I wanted. I was a smart cookie. I could have gone into anything, and been probably successful. And so I didn't know what to do. And I really worried about it. I think I spent, too many days of my precious youth worrying about where I'm going to be when I'm middle-aged. And I wish I could have just said, just take classes that you think are interesting, meet people in professions, and when when it feels right, it's gonna feel right. Like you're going to take science classes and maybe you won't like them, and so you won't go into science, and you're going to take language classes, and oh my god, that's going to be so exciting for you, so you're going to know just in your heart, well, I want to do something with language. And even in college, I struggled. What do I want to be? What do I want to do? I didn't declare my major until my senior year, and which is fine. And all the worrying I did, all the list making I did, all the anxiety I had, it didn't help me. In the end, it just kind of happened naturally. So I think I would have just told myself to relax a little bit and let my heart guide me on my path.
Thank you so much. Wonderful answer. All right. So, okay, thank you so much for that. I'm gonna let the attendees also jump in and make this a little more interactive because I don't want to make it like a monologue. So, okay,
Sure.
you guys are free to also ask Christine, of course, as always. Let's be professional and respectful. You can raise your hand using the reactions button on Zoom, or you can also type your question in the chat, and I will be reading it to Christine. So, if anyone has any questions, please write them in the chat or raise your hand, and we'll let you go ahead. And your microphones are on. Okay, Diana, I see your hand. Go ahead, Diana. What's your question?
Hi, Diana.
Okay, hi. First of all, hi. Thank you so much for sharing with us your experience. It's great. And I just wanted to ask you, like, which is the place, or maybe the places, your favorite places you ever been, that your favorites as a fellow teacher?
Oh my goodness. Well, as a fellow, I was only sent to Panama. So are you talking about professionally where I've been, or just in general, a place I'd love to like visit, my favorite place I've ever been? Oh, is Deanna frozen? Well, I'll go ahead. And so as a fellow, I was in Panama, and then I also did a specialist position, which is a little more specialized with Mexican teachers, but it was all virtual. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go to Mexico for that project. In Panama, it's funny, so I was in Panama City, which is like this big city. It has all the modern amenities, but my favorite place I ever went to in Panama was this tiny little town called El Sombrero Pintado. And it was known for having these painted hats, and they had a festival there, and it was just this really, really small town, like pretty rural. And I just had such a nice time there because local families were coming up to me and inviting me in their house, and everyone was speaking Spanish instead of English. And they had a festival at that time, so I got to see their festival, which was something like I'd never seen before. And I was visiting a Peace Corps friend there, and so I got to see her life and kind of see what her life was like there, which I thought was so cool. So that was my favorite place in Panama. But if I had to pick a place to go back to, I would have to say Thailand is pretty hard to beat in terms of food and beauty and things to see and wonderful people.
All right, thank you. All right. Another one says, nice experience, but which was the worst of the beginning and how you helped? Which were student? I'm guessing the question is like, have you ever had a very bad student? Like, what was like maybe the worst experience you've ever had with a student?
Oh boy. Well, it's unfortunate that something comes to mind right away. The worst experience with a student has to do with I suppose just male students being inappropriate, who maybe their intention is not to learn English, but rather to socialize, I'll put it. And I don't tolerate that in my classroom. And unfortunately, I've had to remove a couple gentlemen who were a little too flirtatious and persistent in my classroom. And I prefer to keep it safe and professional. So that would be my worst experiences. Everything else I can usually handle, strong personalities, students who have trouble learning, I have no problem giving extra help and extra attention to people who are there really to learn. But things like harassment, I don't put up with. And it's only been a couple times, but it's happened and it's never fun.
Thank you for sharing that. Yes, I guess it is definitely something that some teachers have had to put up with, and well, it's not fun at all.
No, and that's one of the things that comes with adults. You don't usually have behavior problems, but adults can come with one or two behavior problems that little kids don't have, and occasionally you have to deal with it.
Yes, definitely. I remember when I was teaching in a public school, I had a better time teaching my middle school students than my high school ones, and they were just like a couple of years apart. So my middle school students were 10 times better at behavior than the high school ones when I taught them. So I can relate to that. Good.
Well, high school is a special time.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. And anyone else? Any other question from the attendees? You can raise your hand, type it in the chat. No? Okay, Joao, I see your hand. Go ahead, Joao.
Yeah.
I just thinking making the question that you had been done now, the worst thing, but now I can thinking about the big difference between United States and Thailand and Panama, and there are different countries, different cultures, and where you went to a small village, as you said, what do you think you can help behind teach English? What do you would like to give to your students more, if you can?
What would I like to give my students more if I could?
Yeah. Because the difference are totally or are bigger than you can imagine. I think sometimes when you reach these places, you probably when you go to there, you see places that possibly you never thought or never think that exist. I don't know.
So as an English teacher, and when I go abroad, I try not to go with any sort of preconception of what I need to give them. I mean, of course, if I'm an English teacher, I'm going to try to help them learn English, reading, writing, listening, speaking. That's pretty much assumed. But in terms of cultural issues or maybe betterment of their life situation issues, I try not to go in with any assumptions. So I'm not, for example, going to go into a small village in Panama and say, I'm going to do this for these people, right? I like to instead start with, like, thank you for inviting me, and asking them, what can I do for you, right? Let them tell me what it is they want. And if they say, oh, we really want to learn English for engineering, or English just for fun and socialization, or English for computers, right? Then that's what I'll do for them. Or maybe you have people who say, I really want to get to the United States. Like, what do I need to know to go there and to be successful there? And then I could start talking about some more cultural issues. So beyond just the language, I just try to, since I'm not an expert in what they need, I don't know their life, I don't know their situation, I don't know if they want to stay there, move there, change things. All I know is that they want to learn English, or someone told them they should learn English, maybe even. So I just like to go in and start, before doing anything, starting a conversation with, what can I do for you? What is it that you're expecting from me? And moving on from there.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
And another question. If you have someone to asking you if you can help that person, and possibly you have someone that ask you help for how can I say, to go to United States with you, if you can get help, get a job, something like that. I don't know if these kind of people ask for help when you are there.
No, I haven't had a lot of people ask me, can you find me a job? Or can I come back with you? I think people realize it's more complicated than that. And an English teacher can't give you a visa. An English teacher can't. I don't have a business. I don't have a job to give. I am happy to always direct them to resources. Like, for example, if they are an English teacher, we have programs to train English teachers, and we can bring them. Well, at least in Panama, we had a program called Panama Bilingüe, where teachers would come to the US and train for like 3 months in the US, as long as they finished their degree in education, So I could always refer them to programs that their embassy, that the State Department, Fulbright, has, and help them with their application, things like that. But I think most people realize, I can't give them a job in the US or help them immigrate to the US. That's a bit outside of my abilities.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So in the chat we have Diana. She mentioned that there's a hurricane where she lives, so the electricity went out. So no worries, Diana. We were able to catch your question. And Fair says if he can be adopted legally.
Yeah.
Maybe Fair. Okay.
I've never even got a marriage proposal, so
maybe soon.
It was between the commas.
Yes.
Yes, I understand. Yeah. No, I've never been asked to adopt someone's child or to marry them. I think most of the people I work with have been, professional and lovely, and wouldn't put me in that position to have to deny their request.
Yes. Yeah, it was just a joke, right? Yeah.
And most people, a lot of the people I've met, I know like the world has got 7+ billion people in it, but most of the people I've worked with as a fellow, like I'm working with teachers, most of them are very happy where they are, and that's where their family is, that's where their life is, that they love their culture, and I'm sure they'd love to travel to the US, but I didn't meet too many people, at least in Panama, who said they wanted to leave Panama. Most were pretty content with their life there.
That's pretty cool.
What about Panama? What?
I was saying that most of the teachers I worked with in Panama were happy and content to stay in Panama.
All right. I'm from Panama.
Oh, that's great. I heard, a lot of talk about some things that they were not happy with. Pension, wages, changes, things like that. But none of them wanted to flee.
Right.
It's a pretty good country.
Thank you.
Yeah, I liked it. Beautiful place.
So, Christine, how are we on time?
I could do that 5 minutes or so.
All right, great.
If you want.
All right,
if anyone has a question.
Good. Anyone else would like to ask a question? As always, you can write them in the chat. Raise your Zoom hand. All right. If not.
Abraham, where are you from in Panama? Where are you living?
Well, I born in Panama City, but I live in Chiriquí right now.
Okay, wonderful.
Yes, in this moment. Yes, Chiriquí. I like the weather. It's more fresh. It's different. Yes, I like it.
Do you know the Udelas?
Yes, I know. It's a college. Yeah, university. Yes.
That was my partner. I worked at Udelas.
Ah, yeah, nice. You were there, or you were in Udelas, or your partner?
I was in Panama City. That was my partner, Udelas, but I visited the campuses in Chiriquí.
Ah, nice, nice, nice. Yes, yes, I know what is this. What is that place? I know what is that university. Yes. But I love
Small
more
one.
Boquete and Volcan. The weather's more fresh and mountains. There are a lot of waterfalls. I love hiking too. So
Yeah.
I like this place.
Thanks for letting me know, Abraham. What a small world.
See, well, I don't see anyone's hands.
But you right now are here in Panama? No, you live in
No,
US.
no, I finished in Panama in 2018, so I was there 3 years
Okay.
ago.
All right, yeah. And now you're in US.
I am in the US now.
Okay, nice.
Well, I believe I will ask one final question, and that would be, um, is there a hobby that you have that maybe not a lot of people know or ask about? Something that you do that you're like, maybe, hey, why don't people ask me about this?
Hobbies I found are very hard to stick to when you work so many hours a week. But I used to have so many hobbies, but as an adult, I found it hard. But I can think of one thing that someone might think is interesting. I don't know if it's a hobby, but I generally don't work over the summers. So I have June and July where I am free to do what I want. And one thing that I have found that I really love doing is just leaving for 2 months and just finding, just kind of like almost like pretending that you have a different little life for 2 months. So one summer, I went to a website called workaway.com where you can just like volunteer for people, and then they give you home and they give you food. And so it's Workaway where so for example, in Germany, I lived with some people who had a farm, and I stayed in their place for free, and they gave me food and we hung out, but for 5 hours a day, I worked on their
Have a
farm.
nice week.
And the next summer, I did the same thing in Spain. And another summer, I didn't do Workaway. I wanted to live in New York City. I wanted to see what's it like to live in New York. I got a job at Petco and worked there for 2 months, lived in Queens. And so it's not really a hobby, but it's something where it's just like, you know what? I want to just pretend for 2 months that I've got a different life. And then I come back home.
All right, that's fantastic. I mean,
I don't
great.
know how much longer I can do that, but see how long I can keep it up.
Sure. Well, we hope you enjoy yourself whenever you do these things, and catch some time for you as well. So that's wonderful. I also worked in a pet shop, not in the U.S. but here in Mexico. I worked there for 6 years. Had some wonderful
wow.
memories about that. And well,
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
yeah, that's pretty cool. So you worked in Queens in Petco. That's
Yeah.
Spider-Man's neighborhood over there. So
I got to see what it's like working in retail, which came away with some interesting stories.
all right. Well, thank you so much, Christine. I really, really appreciate you accepting the invitation, coming here, telling us about the program, telling us about a little bit about your career, your English language life. So a really big thank you to you for coming in and sharing all of this with us. And thank you to also you guys who have participated and joined and asked some pretty interesting questions as well. So I wish you all the best. Thank you so much, Christine, for sharing this time with us. We hope you have a wonderful time in the U.S. and hopefully maybe you can come to Mexico and visit us. I know you gave I was part of one of the workshops that you gave, and it was fantastic. So we really hope that maybe you can come also over here and we'll have some mole together, because that's our
too.
favorite.
I would love it if they sent me to Mexico. Thanks,
Yes.
David. Put in the word for me, okay?
Sure, I will. So thank you so much, Christine. We really wish you the best. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful Saturday. As always, keep practicing English. Be bilingual every day. And hope to see you next week. Take care, everybody. Bye.
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 Everyone.
Bye.